Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, there's outrage in South Africa as a government report reveals the scale of neglect of psychiatric patients in Gauteng province. At least 94 people died after having been moved to unlicensed facilities. Also, DR Congo's main opposition leader dies in hospital in Brussels. Etienne Tshisekedi was one of the country's top advocates for democracy and had been due to play a key role in the nation's political future. And we're joined by Luaty Beirao, the Angolan rapper turned activist whose 5-week hunger strike, when jailed for holding a book club, gained international attention. He tells us a bit more about his hopes for a country filled with contradictions. We turn first to South Africa, where at least 94 psychiatric patients died last year after having been moved to unlicensed facilities that had been compared to concentration camps. Almost all died from pneumonia, dehydration, or diarrhea. A damning health report accuses authorities in northern Gauteng province of transporting 1,300 patients in pickup trucks, taking them from the Life Esidemi hospital to the unheated centres where many were fatally neglected. The move was to save money, and the local health ministers resigned over the scandal. Their fears the death toll could rise. Nomata Ndebele is from the South African NGO Section 27. She tells us more.
There has been a huge public outcry, as is necessary, regarding the circumstances. And I think our concerns now going forward are just the mentally unwell patients who remain, because we need to make sure that they are cared for and well looked after so that we avoid another tragedy. Also, it is mainly accountability for the people who were identified as being involved in causing the scene.
So how could this happen? Where did this very apparently cavalier attitude in the treatment of vulnerable people come from?
You know, I can't even tell you, because it just seems to be a dire case of inhumanity and absolute cruelty, because, you know, the families that were involved, as well as ourselves and different lobby groups, had said that to the department that this is not a good thing to do and that the process was haphazard and that a lot of people were going to lose their lives. So this is something we did warn them about. They cannot say that they didn't know about it, but they went ahead and did it anyway. So it is literally just a case of gross negligence.
And do you think the problem goes beyond Gauteng province?
Definitely. I mean, we have heard of in the Eastern Cape province that people are trying to do the same thing in frail care centres, where they are trying to move a lot of pensioners out. So we've also heard rumours that they may be trying to implement the same systems in the Limpopo province as well as the KwaZulu-Natal province. And so we are very concerned about that.
And all of this to save money?
It's actually shocking. Unfortunately, we live in a country where there is such dire inequality, and, you know, the corruption levels are just increasing and people are being greedy and taking things for themselves and not caring about the next person.
Well, longtime Congolese opposition leader Etienne Tshisekedi has died in hospital in Brussels. He'd flown there for medical treatment this week. Just last year, he'd faced an exultant welcome back from his supporters in Kinshasa. Shortly after news of his death was announced on Wednesday, police in the Congolese capital reportedly fired tear gas on crowds gathered to mourn him. Tshisekedi headed up the opposition coalition and was set to take a top post in a transitional council aimed at paving a way for current president Joseph Kabila to leave power in 2017. Our correspondent, Thomas Nicolon, tells us more.
There was a rumor in the last few hours about Tshisekedi's death, but it wasn't confirmed until only a couple of hours ago. He died at 5:22 p.m. But a lot of people found weird that he should leave Congo on the 24th of January, when there was still negotiations and talks taking place in Kinshasa. Many people were then thinking that he was probably very ill, otherwise he would never leave the country in such an important time. Well, it is confirmed now. He died aged 84, and it's a big question mark now for Congolese opposition.
So how is this going to affect the political landscape in DR Congo?
Well, Etienne Tshisekedi was supposed to be the head of National Transition Council. He was supposed to make sure that the agreement that was reached on the 31st of December was going to be followed in the next few months. But now, who is going to be the head of that council? And is Tshisekedi's son, Felix, going to be prime minister, as many think? Many have been betting in the last few days. There are many question marks around the political situation, and even more now that Tshisekedi died.
Thomas Nicolas there for us from DR Congo. To Cameroon now, where social network posts deemed to contain unverifiable information could now see their authors sent to prison or facing stiff fines. Some see the threat as an attempt to muzzle public opinion at a time when the Anglophone region of the country is still in political turmoil. In Yaoundé, our correspondent sent us this report.
The warning was issued in just 20 words, an SMS, 150 characters, received by millions of Cameroonians on their mobile phones. The message, a reminder not to spread false information on social media or else face a possible 20-year prison sentence and heavy fines. In the Yaoundé University district, a stronghold of active internet users, the warning's been a trending topic amongst students. Among them, Von Kane, who's not surprised by the government's SMS, in a country frequently shaken up by the ongoing crisis in Anglophone regions.
It's intimidation so that people don't even go on social media anymore. What is certain is that other users will think that the government is preventing them from talking about federalism and secession.
Federalism and secession, two demands made by the organisations representing the Anglophone minority, now banned by the government. The war against false news on social media was launched by the Minister of Telecommunications. However, she denies wanting to censor Cameroonian internet users.
We want civilised, responsible mass usage. That's the message behind it. Use the social networks, use the internet, but know that the space, cyberspace in Cameroon, is regulated.
How are lies tracked down on the internet? Questions without official answers. In his digital services business, this computer expert is sure of one thing. Tracking false information on Facebook is an almost impossible mission for the Cameroonian government.
Technically speaking, I think this is just a bluff. I'll give you an example. When you log on to Facebook, you have many ways to sign in with a false name. Controlling Facebook, it's a global network. How will the government be able to track you down?
The Cameroonian government intends to intensify its campaign against false information on social networks for the next 3 months, at least.
Well, now we're going to speak to Luaty Beirao, a rapper who became the face of Angolan dissidents when he was arrested along with 16 other activists in June 2015. That was after discussing a book about non-violent resistance in their book club in Luanda. Now, the group was eventually jailed, accused of planning a rebellion against President José Eduardo dos Santos, who's ruled the country since 1979. Beirao's stage name is Iconoclasto, and he's been an outspoken critic of dos Santos' government. He was given a 5.5-year sentence, and whilst in prison, started a 5-week hunger strike. He was finally released in June last year. And he joins us now. Luaty, thanks very much for
Thank you for having me.
So you've been through a lot. Have your experiences changed you?
Well, every experience changes us. To what extent we don't even realize until maybe years after looking back. But of course they've changed me. 1 year in prison, that changes anyone. I think every person that has been through the experience of going to jail while innocent, experiences some, I won't say trauma, but some positive and negative things. There's always the good side of things also.
But do you still feel confident in speaking up about your politics, about your concerns about the Dos Santos administration?
Well, I've decided long ago to accept that I'm a human being, that I'm afraid of death too, but I decided not to let that fear dominate me. Instead, every day when I decide to take a stand and speak out, I'm facing up to my own fear and defying it. So I have to be alive, to feel alive, I have to do this. And it's not easy, but it's also, I think, not the hardest of things. And yes, I'm still comfortable speaking my mind and spraying my thoughts, namely through music or through other activities, civil activities.
And what are those thoughts? It's a big year coming up, an election year for Angola. What are your concerns about a country that on one hand has one of the most expensive cities in the world, and on the other hand has a massive problem with inequality? What do you want to see change in Angola?
In the immediate period, the next 6 months, we have elections, and we know that tensions will rise. There's always some political intolerance, and fights break out, and people sometimes get killed. So we are very concerned about this particular 6 months ahead. And but of course, for the future, we think all of the Angolans who, like me, take it to the streets. We think that the real problem, the real issue, lies with the president. It's the president that has been too long in power. He has nothing else to give to Angolan population. He ran out of ideas, and he needs to go. We need new blood. We need new people. We need people who have love and compassion and who are really concerned about reintroducing some ethics in politics. And I mean, the scenario is not looking very bright for now.
And what made you decide to take that step of deciding not to eat when you were in prison? You talked about your morals and the theory behind living a full life, but was it that concrete when you were like, okay, what I have to do now is make a stand and make a statement about the way I'm being treated?
I went on hunger strike for quite a simple reason. I thought the government would be wise enough to release us before he went so far. We had a right to be released and wait for our trial in liberty, in freedom, and they didn't do so. So I decided I should take my stance and take it a step further, and just it happened to be 36 days until I stopped.
Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me again.
Luaty Beirao there. Well, that is, though, all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care.